Full of surprises, drama, and some occasional comedy, the Royal Rumble has become one of fans' most anticipated events on the WWE calendar. But it wasn't always that way. Months before debuting on TV, the first Rumble match was a total disaster. WWE Hall of Famer Pat Patterson's mark on the wrestling business goes far deeper than his creation of the Royal Rumble match, but alongside being first ever Intercontinental Champion, it's probably his biggest accolade. Patterson has long been a fan of traditional Battle Royal matches and was known for helping the flow and execution of those multi-person, over-the-top rope showcase events. In the late 80s, Patterson was looking to create a special Battle Royal concept, something that would stand apart from the traditional version in which all the participants would start in the ring at the same time. His take on it would start with its first two competitors in the ring, with all other participants, at least in storyline, drawing a random number to determine where they would enter in staggered order. Every 2 minutes, another competitor would make their way to the ring. Patterson recounted in his 2016 autobiography that WWE head Vince McMahon laughed at the concept, saying it would go on way too long to keep fans interested. So Patterson and McMahon put the idea to the test. Patterson boiled down the argument on the Steve Austin Show.
When it came down to the Royal Rumble, Vince said, "Forget about that, Pat. It's not going to work." I said, "Vince, it's got to work."
Despite McMahon's reservations, the WWE chairman gave Patterson's concept a chance. The test run happened in a pretty intimate setting, an October 4th, 1987 house show in St. Louis, with a reported grand total of 1,976 fans in attendance. Instead of the customary 30 participants, this first Rumble match had only 12 wrestlers. Things did not go well. For whatever reason, Patterson was not present, and the other agents in charge had a hard time communicating his vision. Patterson has said that the match just didn't flow properly, and the crowd reaction was less than remarkable, even as the one-man gang sent Junkyard Dog over the top to win. McMahon essentially trashed the idea moving forward, and it seemed like the Royal Rumble concept was DOA. Patterson blamed the test run's failure on one major factor, his absence. He told CBS, "It didn't work because I wasn't there. The producer was all mixed up and the talent was all mixed up, and they didn't know how it was gonna work." The match was also missing some key components of what makes a Royal Rumble so fun: the countdown clock and, for most participants, entrance music, both of which are necessary for building anticipation of who's coming out next and paying it off. Probably worst of all, the ring announcer inadvertently spoiled the finish of the match. The prize for that first Rumble was a guaranteed title shot, and the announcer told the crowd at intermission that one-man gang would be challenging World Heavyweight Champion Hulk Hogan on the next swing through town. The Royal Rumble concept only roared back to life in service of what drives a lot of innovation in pro wrestling: competition. The NWA's Bunkhouse Stampede pay-per-view was set to run head-to-head with the WWE special on the USA Network on January 24, 1988. McMahon presented a tentative match card to NBC executive Dick Ebersol, who wasn't thrilled about what he saw. Patterson recalled, "For some reason," Dick Ebersol says, "Vince, that card is really not that good. There's something missing on this show that you wrote." And Vince turns around and says, "Pat, why don't you tell Dick Ebersol that stupid idea you had?" Unlike Vince, Ebersol loved the vision, telling Patterson that it was particularly great for TV, and so the first televised Royal Rumble event aired on the USA Network. It included several singles and tag matches, as well as a contract signing between Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan for their upcoming WrestleMania 3 rematch on the main event. But the centerpiece and the big draw was the Rumble match, which this time featured 20 participants. Two big stars and talented technicians, Bret Hart and Tito Santana, started the match to help ensure the flow would go better this time around. Jake the Snake Roberts, Harley Race, Hillbilly Jim, and the Ultimate Warrior were also among the other participants, adding to its star power. The 1988 Royal Rumble show was a success, drawing an 8.2 rating, which was the highest for any wrestling event on cable at that point. On his Something to Wrestle With podcast, Bruce Pritchard explained,
"It was the highest rated television show on cable for a long, long time."
The Royal Rumble would go on to become one of WWE's Big Four annual premium live events. So what's remembered about that first Rumble in St. Louis? Not much. No one is even certain which 12 wrestlers actually competed in it. We know One Man Gang and Junkyard Dog were the final two, and we know who else was there that night: King Kong Bundy, Don Morocco, Cowboy Bob Orton, Axe and Smash of Demolition, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Hillbilly Jim, Nikolai Volkov, Ravishing Rick Rude, Davey Boy Smith, and Billy Jack Haynes, because of their places elsewhere on the card. But nobody can say for sure who competed. Even the match's winner, One Man Gang, can barely recall it. telling CBS Sports, "I wish I could give you details about it, but I really don't remember it." Orndorff said he couldn't recollect if he was in the match, saying he'd had hundreds of matches since, and Axe claimed that nobody had ever brought up the 1987 Royal Rumble to him previously. He said, "I wish I could help you, but it would all be speculation." Despite its humble beginnings, the Royal Rumble has evolved into a favorite WWE event for millions of fans and is the launching point for WrestleMania season. It's expanded to include a field of as many as 50, though the number has generally settled at a standard 30. Since 2018, the Women's Royal Rumble match has held a place on the card, main eventing the show in its inaugural year. The match is typically for a guaranteed title shot at WrestleMania, but it has been for the title itself on a few occasions. Rumble matches are often used to showcase up-and-coming talents, to debut wrestlers coming in from other promotions, to further or kickstart storylines as WrestleMania approaches, and to harken back to years past with surprise comebacks. 37 years after Pat Patterson's early vision was called stupid and flopped on its face in front of that tiny crowd in St. Louis, the Royal Rumble is thriving, with the 2024 edition ready to rumble once again from St. Petersburg, Florida.